Hey guys, welcome to the first of what I hope is many transit talks. This is a series that I am starting in place of the weekend astrology videos. So if you have been tuning along and into those videos, I think this is something that's going to be a lot more constructive and a lot more specific as to how you can work with these planetary transits, as these videos will be pertaining to planets moving into a different sign or going into retrograde. And I'm debating on whether to do them for the new and full moon cycles too, so please let me know if that's something that you would be into. But I am very excited to kind of take this change in direction now that there's a lot of those big planetary energies that are moving direct again, and so we can kind of restructure our lives coming out of those retrogrades. And we still got a lot of work to do, and as I'm sure you guys can feel, tensions are high. There is a lot of pressure that is coming from the upcoming Scorpio season, as well as Mercury has already been in Scorpio, which just adds to that pot that Pluto has been boiling this year, and asking us to kind of change the way we do everything. But yeah, so what we'll be doing for these transit talks are moving through, each zodiac sign and how the planetary movement is going to affect you. So if we're looking at Venus moving into Cancer, we're going to see where that falls and in what house for each sign and what we can expect with that, or retrogrades, what houses are they going to be going through, and where is it going to be the most impactful for you to try to work with the energies as opposed to against them. So this one, for the first one, we're going to start off with the ever important Mercury retrograde. So this one will be going from 11 degrees Scorpio and back into 25 degrees Libra. So the specific time period for this retrograde phase is going to be October 13th through November 3rd. And there's always a shadow phase on either side of that. So, with these transits that go on, we can feel their influence before the date in question or when it's supposed to end. It's very fluid, it's not exact, and so it's kind of hard to narrow it down to a specific date and time or minute even with astrology. And so allow for some variability there, as within all things kind of metaphysical. Like we're always on the verge of discovering something, and that leaves some room for imprecision. And it's just very hard to kind of take the information directly because it doesn't present that way for everybody. And so, we try to look at it through our own lens and interpret it and work with it in a way that speaks to us. So with that in mind, let's start talking about this Mercury retrograde. So Mercury is that very, very tiny planet, the closest to the sun. We look for truth when we look at Mercury stuff, but it doesn't, maybe it's not as loud and out there as Leo energy, or, maybe it is a little more secretive sometimes and reading in between the lines, like with Virgo energy. But Gemini is its main ruler, even though both Gemini and Virgo share the planet. Its dominant ruler is Gemini, and that's where we'll be paying the most attention. So for you Geminis out there and for you Virgos out there, this will obviously play a bigger impact in your chart and in your life. So really take notes of those Mercury retrogrades, because since it's your ruling planet, that's where you're going to look to a lot of the times for like some of the bigger answers as to what you're going through currently. And yeah, with anybody with Scorpio placements or Scorpio suns, this is going to have a bigger impact on you too, because that's the sign that it'll be moving through. And yeah, so Mercury retrograde, what does it mean to put it in reverse? Like we're in a car, we basically have just been sent this stop sign from above, and that is like telling us like, hey, you need to redirect, you need to slow your roll, you need to make sure your seatbelt is buckled, and you need to look in your rearview mirrors more so than anything, because if we're ignoring what's behind us, we're just kind of aimlessly moving forward and not really balancing the energy and like realigning. Like, just because I'm choosing to go on this path or this road doesn't mean that it's right for me or it's the right time. And so retrogrades are our opportunity to realign that and to make sure like, no, this is where I want to put my money, this is where I want to put my focus. And so right before a Mercury retrograde or any retrograde, you're going to get kind of this teaser trailer of like what you could be experiencing. So if you guys have met somebody new, or you've had kind of a new way of communicating, you know, some new dialogue that hasn't been present, you know, stuff like that, you kind of get this glimpse of. And then once Mercury goes into retrograde, we scale it back. You know, we scale back that conversation. You know, we kind of rewind the tape a little bit. And we aren't quite ready to move forward with the energy yet. We're not quite ready to, keep going down this exciting road. But that doesn't mean that the road is no longer an option, or that person isn't an option anymore. It just means that, this is the direction that the universe is taking us in order for us to unlock something stronger within ourselves, more insightful, more mindful. And especially speaking of Mercury energy, we're talking about the mind. And so this is a very, very big part of who we are, how we live our daily lives. You've got Gemini, which rules over our conscious mind. And that's why a lot of Geminis are into psychology. They're into just having a lot of connections with people that hints at bigger things, you know? It's kind of like this matrix personality where you're like, I see that there are things bigger happening around me. I don't know if I'm going to take the time to invest in them and investigate them like maybe an Aquarius would, who likes to be absolved in all of that, like really big, like far-reaching stuff. Gemini more so wants pockets of information, you know, like pull a source over here or source over there. You know, I'm going to use that piece and just, you know, make this platter of a dialogue that's going to help me with this situation. And so that's why Geminis can come across as a lot more scatterbrained, maybe as not direct or as focused, because a lot of the times they're not really coming at a conversation with a plan. If you'll notice, they're working it out in their heads as you're moving through it with them. And arguably, people help Geminis say what they need to say more than the Gemini can on their own. It's because they need that reverberation and that mirror to express, you know, the multitude of internal dialogues that are happening. And so there is some complexity when we look at the air signs, if you guys don't already know. But there is this multiplicity when we look at Mercury. And so a good rule of thumb is to expect things to happen again. You know, when we're looking at that duality, you may even be in the exact same situation as you were before. You know, it's hard to know at what point in your life, but like it could literally repeat itself during a Mercury retrograde, because that duality is enhanced. And so it's almost like a revisit to that moment. Now with Mercury, it can take us all the way back to high school. That's usually the time where we see a big influence of Gemini or Mercury energy in our lives. But it also rules the workplace environment with Virgo influence. And so, you know, those are the big kind of factors, whether you're a young adult that is still in high school or you're, you know, just looking at it as a job perspective. You can kind of see the influence of both. And so we're revisiting, you know, what kind of themes were happening for us when we were in high school, and maybe that are like resurfacing here. Do you feel like the drama train is coming back up again, like you're being pulled into something, you know, where maybe there's a sense of like unpopular opinion or yeah, finding out something and someone using it against you. That's very Mercury and Scorpio. It kind of feels like a target, like you're a target for somebody, and you know there's a bullseye on your back, and that's somebody's mission almost. And the important part about working with that kind of pressure or tension is, you know, that you just continually take the high road. You know, you don't fall into the traps that they lay out, but you're not going to stress out about avoiding everything all the time. You know, you're just going to trust your instincts and be like, okay, I'm a good person. Like, these weren't intentionally harmful acts or words, and like it'll write itself out eventually. It's just we're being pushed into like these very narrow spaces where the dark elements of ourselves are coming out. And they may even have to do with sex, because that is Scorpio. So Mercury and Scorpio, you know, what can we expect there? Like very intense, passionate conversations. Maybe somebody is unearthing something about yourself because Scorpio is the investigator. You add Mercury to that, it's even more information than you thought. And so it's a lot, you know, it's a lot. Like I can already feel it in my own personal life. But yeah, like the focus is there. You know, it's a fixed sign, which makes it even more harder to work with. You know, because once a fixed sign kind of attaches itself to an agenda, it's very hard to dissuade it or allow it to see that there are alternative routes that aren't as damaging. Scorpio tends to want to inflict pain. Not necessarily that they're malevolent. I mean, you will hear people in astrology say that Pluto is a malefic planet, but that doesn't mean that every Scorpio out there is out to get you. That just means that they have a way with pushing past limits and conventions and you know, overcoming every obstacle. And so they bring that energy into every relationship that they have too. And so when you're around a Scorpio, you may even feel like, oh my God, this intensity like just comes over me. And, you know, I'm just want to push myself more. And so you can kind of see the good and the bad aspects of that. With every planet moving into another sign, we can almost get a glimpse of what is it like for a person with that sign. And so with Mercury going into retrograde, we can almost inhabit what is the life of a Scorpio. You know, what does that look like? What are those internal dialogues? Because we're talking about the mind here, and we're going to be really thinking like a Scorpio. We're going to be thinking like every action that we take continues our survival. You know, when we may feel very threatened, maybe very targeted, or you know, gaslit, things like that. And we just have to continually tell ourselves that these are opportunities. You know, we are unearthing things about ourselves and the world during this placement, and none of that is hard to stomach or easy to stomach. None of that is easy to stomach. Information can just be more than we bargained for, because, you know, it's just stuff that like beforehand we didn't know about, you know. And so there's always going to be a reaction whenever we're looking at Mercury moving through something. So 11 degrees Scorpio to 25 degrees Libra is where it's going to stop. This time period, if I haven't already said, is October 13th through November 3rd. And so we're going to look at, you know, what houses are these touching for each of the signs as Mercury moves from Scorpio to Libra. And so where can you see the most focus and impact in your life through this transit? And yeah, just like how to work with a Mercury retrograde in these times where health is like super, super important. This is the sign of health, in my opinion, because Virgo rules over health, and this is Virgo's ruler, as well as Gemini are the people that we're coming into interacting with. And so there's this dual implication here of like not just living our own healthy lives, but making sure that the people around us are too. And if that already rings true for you, it does for me. So let's get started, okay? We'll just start with Aries and just kind of move through all 12 signs. So you can skip ahead depending on if you would choose to only see your sign, but if you know your rising and your moon, look for those snippets and to kind of give you a broader picture of the full story, because we don't just narrow things down to our sun sign. I think you guys know that it's a little more complex than that, but the sun sign is going to give you almost the most obvious or biggest focus to work with, because that's kind of always the direction that we're headed, or where we get that vitality from to keep moving. So if you put the emphasis on the sun sign, odds are you're not going to go wrong. But if you like more information, and especially when we're looking at Mercury, you might want to try your rising or your moon too. So Mercury retrograde in Aries to start us off. So we're looking from the 8th house, which is ruled by Scorpio, and back to the 7th, which is ruled by Libra, because when we look at an Aries rising, everything is already in its natural place, and so there's not a lot of work to do there with figuring out how it's going to align. You know, if you do have like a weird degree or you know, a house placement system that is askew, there is some room for you know, an askew ratio or something like that. But you know, you guys, I'm sure, know your charts by now and know where 25 degrees of Libra is and 11 degrees of Scorpio. So without further ado, let's start with Aries. So 8th to 7th houses. Whoa, came out really quick, Aries. Okay. So Ace of Pentacles in reverse. So yes, this is 8th and 7th is very like wealth oriented. You know, Scorpio pushes through to obtain the most. That's why they have that tenacity, that drive to just keep going and going and going, because they want it all. They want it all. I feel like it's going to be more normal for us to see reversals in retrogrades, so we'll keep that in mind. But I think it's also ironic to see a hand in the first card, which, you know, is Gemini's ruling body part. We're looking at Mercury here. So Ace of Pentacles, we're going back into our investments, into our finances, and we are seeing how are they not providing a sustainable road for us, you know, like how we're spending things, where we're getting our money. Like we're questioning, you know, what is the viability of that? Is it really like long term, or is it just very short term? And with you guys, I feel like you always need to ask the question of like, is this going to last? Because in an Aries life, the odds are that it happens very quick, and, you know, in between that, there's not a lot of consistency. And so you guys are really going to struggle to find some consistency or a road that offers you that during this retrograde. And just, yeah, turning back on your habits, you know, the past. Retrogrades take us back into the past a little bit, and you guys being the sign of childhood, you know, can go back pretty far, and you're experiencing your own retrograde still. Mars is in retro for at least another month. They may be coinciding with Mercury. So yeah, it doesn't mean that like everything that's happening during this time is not going to be worth your time. It just means that I think you'll see a lot quicker that it doesn't feel right. You know, it just doesn't, like, your body isn't in alignment with the options or the people that you're coming into contact with. Like, they don't feel like they should stay, especially if they're coming up from your past. And so, yeah, there just won't be this continuation of these things once it goes back forward again and we're tapping back into that forward momentum. So, Taurus, so we're looking at your 7th house to your 6th house. So Scorpio is in the 7th for you, and then Libra is in the 6th. So we're going to be transiting those two houses. Those are the perfectionist houses. You're going to be very, very specific with your communication styles and approaches, Mercury and Scorpio, doing all the investigating, the research. You're going to be maybe driving yourself crazy in the process, you know, and this could very well deal with the relationships that you have, your interpersonal ones. 7th house are the people that you're very close to, you feel very connected to, and then 6th house is the house of health, and so it could deal with those two issues. So if you know somebody that has gotten COVID, or if you're worried about your risk of getting it, that feels very much kind of like what this transit will be like for you guys. So take extra precautions. Oh, wow. So, okay, interesting. We've got a few here. I'm gonna try to keep it narrowed down to one card, but Page of Swords, you know, really looking in all places for the information, the conversations. You just kind of want to keep talking. It doesn't look like it's harmful necessarily until we get into this. You know, I feel like your intention is almost pure here, and you're just genuinely curious to know more and more. But this is where we get sticky. This Five of Wands energy, you know, are you intentionally, is your curiosity provoking more conflict? Ooh, is your curiosity provoking more conflict? Ask yourself that, Taurus, you know, especially with your partner, because this isn't necessary. Five of Wands is never necessary, I feel like. I feel like it's just kind of like kids, or maybe this is more the drama side associated to Mercury coming out, and you're just riding that train, and we have Gemini's card here, so very Mercury influence. But yeah, this is like very destabilizing, especially with the people you live with, you know, those people that you see a lot and care about a lot. You're really going to be dealing with some heated kind of conversations, dialogues. I mean, it looks like you're well set to take them on, but I just question like whether they're necessary, or do you just kind of keep poking and prodding where you shouldn't? So ask that. Whoa, the Magician, Gemini. Wow, okay, so you guys are ready for this one. Gemini, we're going from your 6th house into your 5th. So Scorpio is in your 6th house of work, and we're leading into the 5th house of the self, of, you know, the arts, creativity. That's very much the Magician here. And just like, yeah, it's kind of like your powerhouse. I feel like the 5th house, when we're working on it, is the most fulfilling house to be going through, but there are a lot of challenges in that house, a lot of antagonisms, people that kind of want to oppose you, you know, like when you step out into the light, when you try to claim your space, you know, that can honestly, like, obviously attract naysayers. And so, but it looks like you guys have the popular opinion this time around. You know, like you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're well equipped to be doing it. So I think this is one retrograde or time for, you know, people can't really call you manipulative. You're just, you know, getting things as they come to you. And you look really good doing it. You know, you've got the tools, you've got the resources to make it happen. And you guys are kind of on like a new path here. Like this is the 1 card. And so you feel like, you know, all things are coming together, and, you know, you can kind of, can just go forth and achieve that thing that you really want. So great card for manifesting. So put out your intentions, you know, really get clear on that direction. And you guys may even find, because you are so flexible and you like really don't like to be tied down to one path, that a Mercury retrograde is actually a great time for you to narrow that focus. And I think that's why the Magician card is coming up, is because it's like, okay, now we can take kind of these unnecessary people and conversations out of the mix for a second, and like, you know, just simplify. And that's really powerful. So ride that. Cancer, very quick cards. Like Mercury energy is coming out very fast here, y'all. So Cancer, 5th house to the 4th house. There's a lot of family matters here. I typically associate the 5th house with not only children, but the father too. For me, the Leo always feels very father-son dynamic. You know, so issues there. And obviously the 4th house is your family, specifically your mom. Food matters, and even health matters too when we look at the 4th house. So there are conversations coming about in, you know, where you're getting the resources, where You're pushing maybe too hard, so be very careful, with the conversations with yourself, with your family. It looks like you guys are in the position to make a huge decision here. There is some weighty stuff that is affecting your personal world. I mean, 5th and 4th houses are like as personal as it gets. They are, the 4th is almost like your internal world. It's those things that you hold dear, your comfort zone. And the 5th is your outward expression. It's like your individuality. It's like, it's all you. Like everything that you do in association to the 5th house is fully you. And so this is going to feel very, very personal, very weighty, judgment card. But you guys are like in the right, like you're like, okay, I'm really reviewing everything that's happened up to this point, and it's going to set you up for success once you do get clear on all these hidden things that Scorpio energy is going to bring out. Okay, Leo. Let's look here. All right. Oh, Leo. Okay. So, one card that's very clear, the Magician in reverse. So, we are going to be moving through our 4th to our 3rd house. So, this is really taking us back to school. That 3rd house there, Mercury being placed there. You may be revisiting your high school or where you grew up, some family stuff, 4th house. You're really feeling out of your element. You're really feeling that you can't rise to the occasion right now, and that there is some stuff that you need to get through. If you've like kind of been getting into some sticky situations, maybe almost, kind of weaseling your way in and out of things, and with the COVID parameters, we are all almost being watched under a microscope, and that can be very, very frustrating, especially for somebody that already gets a lot of attention, that's not always wanted attention. And you guys hate it when the attention is unpopular. You'll do anything to kind of get out of that. And so, the Magician here in reverse shows that there is a time where we are going to feel ourselves again, but it is not going to be during this retrograde. There is still some backpedaling to do. Maybe we were a little too ambitious. We were dreaming a little too big of like, where is this going to take me? And we just didn't have almost the right intentions with it. And so we're getting clear on our mindset. This is a big Mercury card. Some people say this is the Mercury card, and so it's very powerful to get it during a Mercury retrograde reading, and makes sense that it's in reverse. So, you may still be splitting yourselves between different paths, and just a lot of confusion coming in as to like, well, what can I achieve? What can I accomplish? Like, I really don't know anymore. I just feel like every road leads to some sort of hurt, some sort of pain, some sort of, just impurity. And that's where we usually trust our instincts and the things that come up in our lives. And we question them a bit, but usually our internal barometer is right on the mark. But this is one time where, things just aren't as clear as they appear. So Mercury is really going to have us go into that consciousness and see how are our actions coming across, how are the words, and how are they aligning. So some deep work there. So Virgo, let's see here. So Geminis and Virgos especially, pay close attention to this video. This is your ruling planet. Let's see, Virgo, you have 3rd to 2nd. And so when we're looking at your Virgo rising, which is the personality of a Virgo, basically, we're looking at your 3rd house ruled by Scorpio and your 2nd house ruled by Libra. So we're going to be going from the 3rd to the 2nd. So you guys are kind of in that Leo, same thing of like being back to your high school years. Maybe there's some drama coming up. There's some almost like this repeated situation that has happened in the past for you, and it's coming back again. And so you're like, well, oh my God, haven't I done this before? Or haven't I like been through this with a person very similar before. And so hopefully you can take that as some sort of helpful notion as to how to deal with it, or maybe how to deal with it a different way. But yeah, third to second, a whole lot of chatter, a whole lot of communication, and then going and like kind of being still, you know. From third to second is like very, very busy, social, communicative. You know, you guys love talking things out, and you guys can be very, very long-winded. I think my Mars and Virgo placement, you know, makes me really hash out everything I have to say, which makes these videos a lot longer, but I hope all the more helpful. And yeah, so, you know, it's very much going to be an internal dialogue, because it's starting in your third house, which is of the mind. So that's where the really rough spot is. And then when it traverses to your second house, you may be feeling like some money matters are kind of taking hold. So let's see what card you have. Wow, very quick cards today. Okay. Queen of Wands in reverse. Okay. So this backpedaling of Mercury is, you know, almost like taking you guys down into this bossy kind of mindset where you're just feeling like something is itching, or something that you can't quite put your name to, you can't quite get a handle on, and it's very irritating, and you feel like this intensity coming in, and there's this perfectionistic, I feel like, tendency with this card, because she wants everything a certain way, but she's feminine and she's more gentle, and so she has a harder time commanding or even getting the respect of the people around her. And this card always, always, always reminds me of Hermione Granger, who I have typed as a Virgo and who seems very Virgoan. And this just seems like the card to get, where, you know, she's really frustrated. She's doing the work of other people around her. She's picking up the slack, and she's just not very stable. And so you guys may run into a female, if you're not a female, that, you know, is just kind of poking and prodding you in every which way, and you're feeling very discouraged to work with, to interact with, to be truthful to. You know, maybe with Gemini benefiting from this retrograde, you guys are doing the opposite, and you feel like retrogrades actually are disheartening to you. If you feel like things are a lot less clear, like you like having all the conversations, doing deep dives, and when you get slowed down in that process, that engine in you, Virgo, that just keeps you on moving, is just like, I don't know where to do the work. You know what I mean? Like, I usually have all these outlets for it. I have these routines set up. And so you feel like things are getting a little skewed when Mercury's going into retrograde. Yeah, and can just be like almost questioning that devotion when we see the second house, like where you trust in others and of yourself, you know? So it's important to hold yourself accountable when we get this card, and to also get clear on how things are affecting you internally as well as externally. You know, the feminine cards ask us to look inwards. And so we're going inwards on our minds and our actions and our conversations. So it's a lot to unpack there, but I think you guys can handle it. Let's see here, Libra, second to first, okay? So let's see, Libra, did we get the same? Oh my God, the same cards are coming out. I guess this is speaking to that duality with Mercury. Things want to happen twice, so keep that in mind, folks. That it's very likely that you've been through this before. Libra, so this is going from your second, your house of possessions, you know, Libra energy in the second house. We love that. That's a Venus ruled placement, and you know, it's just not as social as the house. It's more about your possessions, more about redecorating, you know, doing things that feel more you. And that's very much what the Queen of Wands is upright like this. She's doing things that feel good to herself. So you guys are very well suited for this retrograde. You know, it's going into your first house, which is how you're tackling things. It's what's on your mind. You know, how you're approaching everything, and you're putting your foot forward when something is in your first house, so you're acting on it. You know, it's getting the attention, it's crying out to you, and your emotions are really coming into play here. So Yeah, changing your consciousness, your focus on what is right for you, who is right for you, and just seeing the truth. And so I feel like this Scorpio stuff is going to be bringing up a lot of things that you guys are ready to hear and listen to, or take in, you know, like some very helpful stuff. So roll with it. It's never easy when we look at wand energy, but it is necessary. It's very truth oriented, and so if you kind of doubt certain situations or people in your life, expect for some insights to come your way. Scorpio. So Scorpio, here we go. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Came out super quick. So this is a really big, you know, transit for you guys, since it's happening. It's starting in your signs, going back to Libra, and then it'll be going through your sign a second time, as Mercury, you know, loves that. So Scorpio, you're first to your 12th house. So this is a very, very interesting dynamic there. We're moving through the conscious mind, how we're moving through the world. Your rising sign is often like, or the first house is your focus, what you're approaching during this time. And so you guys are approaching, you know, conversations, responsibilities, you know, social interactions, your health. There's a lot associated to Mercury, and it does feel overwhelming to unpack it, because it is so much to unpack. I almost think that that's why it's split into two signs, and one of those signs is split into like a double personality, is because there is so much in that little planet. And you guys know that well, because you are a little planet, and when you really pack a punch, but you guys are very hidden for a long time. You like to be the black horse, to be who no one expects, to be getting the information in these very intricate ways that no one really questions you. And Mercury energy is a lot more forthcoming. It's a lot more obvious what the individual is trying to do. You know, it's not trying to hide so much, it's just trying to work through things, where you guys can really sit on something for a long time before you act on it. And Ten of Wands is just that, you know, like you have really been carrying this weight for a long time. And I think that this transit is really going to allow you guys to see how heavy, you know, this stuff is weighing you down. You're bringing it home. You know, these worries are always with you. We're moving into the subconscious when we look at the 12th house and where Mercury retrograde will end for you. And so it's going to feel like a lot, you know, it's like you're almost hitting the rewind button, because the 12th house is usually where we finish things and the first house is where we begin, and you guys are doing the opposite. You're beginning and then you're ending. And yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's like a Benjamin Button moment when I think about it. So it can feel very much like this backwards movement, but I think more so than anything, you guys are really progressing. We have the wands here. It's just that you have so much on your plate. It's very overwhelming. So you can do it, but try to find ways to let it go at the door, to not bring it home. If you do have to work from home and all of this stuff is really keeping you in home and nowhere to escape it, you know, find exercise, find ways to burn off this stuff and get outdoors. That's very important for y'all. So let's see here. I have Sagittarius, 12th to the 11th, very unexpected houses, very imaginative places to put Mercury in. So you guys are really going to be dreaming a lot. You're really going to have some very inspiring ideas once it goes into the 11th house, and seeing how far things go and how deep they go. So you guys are really going to have a lot of tough work ahead of you, and people really aren't going to see what you're trying to do clearly, or what you're trying to say. There is this almost misunderstood approach to both the 12th and the 11th house. You know, they're ruled by Pisces and Aquarius, which, you know, a lot of people don't understand, and they don't take the time to understand their very unique perspectives. And so this retrograde is really going to affect you know, how people relate to you, you know, and the connections that you have from far and away, maybe through your travels, maybe you have pen pals, maybe, you know, there's just friends that you're just not physically close to a lot, but they're still very important in your life. That's that Aquarius energy with the 11th house. So let's see what we've got here. Very quick today. I'm just so surprised. And look, these cards are jumping out and they really have like very concentrated energies. Queen of Wands, this is the third time out. She is like, get right on yourself, honey. You know, you're going to feel good, but it's going to feel very you. You know, this is, you don't have to put everything out there. You know, she's more internal. So this is more so about your emotional self, and starting out with the 12th house with that Pisces energy. You know, we're getting right on our sensitivities, the subconscious mind, things of that nature. We're trying to see the truth in those matters. And then the 11th may allow you for some expression of that, but I really don't think this is for everyone to hear. This is more so for you to see. Those two energies, they do a lot of behind the scenes work, so they don't normally put everything out there unless it's like absolutely necessary, you know. And so this is a really empowering card to get. It means that you're coming into that balance that I feel like we get with a Temperance card with you guys, where you're kind of uniting your soul and your expression of your soul together. So we love Queen of Wands energy. It looks like she's a big one for this transit for a lot of folks. So run with it. And yeah, you've got the say. You know, you kind of control the outcomes when we've got that wand energy. It's like you've got the microphone, and you guys love to have the microphone, so have fun with it. Capricorn, 11th to your 10th. Ooh, came out upright. I think you guys are the first card to be ready in that way. 10 of Cups, great. So this Mercury retrograde, you know, isn't all bad, you guys. Like, we can really see here, it's very necessary. And I hope we're kind of questioning the status quo of, oh, Mercury retrograde, it's nothing but bad energy. You know, retrogrades are essential for us to turn back the clock and to get straight on a lot of things before we progress again. 10 of Cups. You know, you guys are dreaming the dreams and you're achieving the dreams. So you guys, in one of our recent tarot videos, if you're subscribed on Instagram, where you really were putting your money where your mouth was. Queen of Wands energy, you like really let people have it, but there was some truth to what you were saying, and it looks like there was a time that, you know, you just stepped up recently, and yeah, you put people in check. And so 10 of Cups is all about achieving what we want. You know, these are the deep things that especially you guys may feel very skeptical that you can get for yourselves, and this retrograde is showing that, oh yeah, like, I can do it. You know, it takes us back, so we're realigning with who we are, what we set out to do, and you're like, oh, this actually is achievable. This is happening in your 11th and 10th houses, which are very accomplishing houses. 11th is the innovation, you know, the ideas, the really big ones that get us those things that we really need for ourselves. You know, that's like reaching out for a star and being able to hold it and take it into your life and feeling warm and feeling like, you know, almost angelic, like this cool spiritual-esque life. And this Cups energy is asking you guys to do that, to dream, to wish upon a star. And your 11th and your 10th house is where you guys like to be. So, you know, it's aiding you once it comes back into Libra and starts moving forward again. You guys get that refuel that you need. Like, oh, okay, we're restructuring here. We're getting back into those conversations that we had, those connections. You're reconnecting to people from your past. And yeah, it's like aiding you and being in the right mentality to work on those things that you really, really need and want for yourself. So great job there. Aquarius, your 10th to 9th house. Oh, two cards. It's Justice And okay, interesting. Very Libra energy here. So justice, the big card here, is all about the karmic repercussions with this transit. And your 10th to your 9th house, I feel like, are those houses where you're going to accomplish a lot, but it is really necessary to balance out how you've been living up to this point, how you've been thinking, how you've been working. This is a real big opportunity for you to get right. And, maybe there's somebody in your life that just isn't right for you, that is kind of causing this imbalance. And I don't know if it's your home environment or just a relationship that is constantly dragging you down, and just you're not at the level that you want to be to take on what you want to take on. And Mercury retrograde is going to allow you to kind of rewind the clock a little bit and see these investments, these long-term things that you've signed up for, like your contracts, like, whether it's, your lease agreement or your marriage or something significant legally. That's oftentimes where we see the justice coming in. Could even be getting like a traffic ticket or something like that, Mercury retrograde. You're seeing how, was it really fair, or was it right for me to have to do that? You're getting almost like this karmic revisit. And so you're going to be like, maybe you haven't thought of something before, but now it's like coming into light for you. And you're just like, okay, some time has passed. And now I'm realizing, like, did I have the full story, or was that really the way things should have gone? Do I still have hangups about this? And yeah, so it's offering you some opportunity to grow and to just restructure, or realign, or, reinterpret the contractual obligations you have. Maybe you're going to be signing something or renewing something that's very important for you. But it's important for you to realize that you don't have necessarily the structure that you want to fully do it the way you want. And especially be wary of any trips that you're going to go on that may be very bad for your finances and what else is coming up, Pisces, 9th to 8th. So 9th to 8th house, we're looking at our, I had a brain fart there. We're looking at our 9th house, which is Sagittarius, which is travel, adventure, expansion. And then we're looking at our 8th house, which is a lot more serious. It's not moving in the sense of distance as it is in the sense of taking opportunities. And so you guys are kind of moving more into that darker Scorpio aspect of the 8th house. So you could have felt like things were feeling very adventurous, very spontaneous lately, that especially the social events that you were going on with your friends and people that were just very educational and very fun and just kind of all over the place. And it was allowing you that imagination and that experience that you really liked. And now we're refining that. You've had your taste, you've had your fun, and we're getting serious again with that 8th house. We're being like, okay, but now, like the thing that we need that can push us to have all of that again, we have to claim it. And it's like, to have the good things, you have to do the hard work. And so that 8th house is going to push you guys to be more productive, to be more thoughtful, to, really speak up. All those things that are Mercury oriented, that's very, very different from who you guys are. I almost feel like Mercury is opposite of Neptune. But they're similar in ways, or I guess Mercury could be opposite of Jupiter. But there's ruling in both of those. And so, where you guys are doing all the secretive work, like that Scorpio stuff, and you're, exploring your imagination, you read into the signs of like what people are saying without saying, Mercury is like, okay, Well, here's every type of communication, every visual, every conversation, and now you're just like overwhelmed with what you're seeing on this road, and you're just like, okay, this is too much. Like, I really need, you know what I mean, to like kind of simplify. And simplify I always like to use when we're talking about Mercury, because it can just get so overwhelming. And like, just sit down, narrow yourself, and the things that you want to say, and just get straight on that stuff. You know, you can't approach everything from all sides. And I know you guys like to stay very fluid, but there comes a time where you can't change course as easily, and that's this time, any Mercury retrograde. So 9th to 8th, let's see what we got. Okay, so, oh, not bad. Very, very much a love time for you guys. So cool. So we are feeling great. We look great. That adventurous aspect of the 9th house has like really piqued your interest. You feel more cultured, maybe you know a little more, and you've got some kind of cool hobbies, you know, or even pets, that are making life a little easier for you in these quarantine times. You know, the 9th house, again, looks for that balance of like, how do we spread the wealth? How do we spread the knowledge, but hold on to enough for ourselves? And so you guys have that duality of the Lovers card, the Gemini card, coming in, and you may even be very well attracting the right people into your life. Like, these are really good indications that you're going to wear this transit very well, and it's not going to get the best of you. Yes, there is some opposed viewpoints with the Lovers. It's very opposite energy that is coming in, but it is complementing you. This is somebody that is your equal, is somebody that makes you look and feel good, and that could even benefit you financially. So like, really, really great things here. And you guys are so past oriented. You know, Pisces carry their past, whether it's, you know, their favorite experiences or their deepest traumas. And somebody, you know, really wants you to be you and be that gorgeous self that you have, that can wish it and dream it and get it. So this is great for you guys. I feel like ending this video on a positive note is a great thing. I feel like there were some tough cards in there. Queen of Wands, she really had a lot to say, and so watch out for those Hermione figures in your lives. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it's a long video, but I think it's easier to navigate, and I may even post like the different timestamps so you can fast forward to your sign. So let me know what you guys think, and maybe we'll be doing new and full moons on this, or just at least focusing on these planetary changes, because they happen a lot more than we think, and each one is its own unique opportunity to improve and to release and to further our existential adventure is life. So please subscribe if you haven't already, and check out what's going on Instagram at Tarot with Tyler. I'll see you guys next time.